Good evening, afternoon or morning, Movie Cat is at the microphone, and today I will tell you about the American romantic drama, Cruel Intentions.
You can put it anywhere.
The representative of the Golden Youth, Sebastian Valmont, complains to his psychotherapist that he is just an unfortunate rich son and cannot focus in his life on anything other than sex. The psychotherapist does not particularly empathize with him, noting that all the problems are from a bad upbringing. Instead of practical advice, she gives the guy her book, How to Raise the Perfect Child, and walks him to the exit. She then whispers that Sebastian is an idiot. A minute later, psychologist gets a call from her daughter in tears. She admits that a guy named Sebastian seduced her, and then he photoshopped on the internet naked photos of her on the cover of her mother's book, now entitled How to Raise the Perfect Whore. Sebastian, on the ground floor, under the screams and threats of the psychologist, throws her book into the trash and meets another pretty girl. Later, Sebastian arrives in an expensive vintage convertible to a luxurious apartment. His stepsister Katherine also lives there, who is currently advising an influential lady on the entry of her daughter Cecile into the college, in which Katherine is president of the Students' Council. When asked by the lady how Katherine manages to do everything, the girl kisses the cross and says that she is turning to God. After escorting the lady and her daughter to the exit, Katherine sniffs a powder directly from the cross and explains to her stepbrother that she takes the silly Cecile under her wing to take revenge on her because Katherine's ex-boyfriend left her for Cecile. Katherine promises when she finishes, Cecile will be the #1 hoe in New York. Katherine proposes Sebastian to start, as he knows how to seduce an innocent rival, but her brother refuses, arguing that it is too easy. But the real challenge for Sebastian is a girl named Annette Hangrove, who published in a well-known magazine a certain Virgin Manifesto, a public statement that the first sex should wait until the wedding, in combination with the fact that the father of this girl is a new principal of the college where Sebastian studies, to sleep with Annette before the start of the school year. This is a real challenge for the guy, complete in which, in his opinion, he will increase his reputation as a seducer and heartbreaker incredibly. Also, Annette will become the crown of Sebastian's victories in his diary, where he records his love achievements. Katherine tells her brother that this is too hard for him, and they decide on a bet. If Sebastian fails, Katherine will take his rare Jaguar Roadster. But if her stepbrother does sleep with Annette, then Katherine will give herself to him, as she says, will satisfy him in all possible ways. Since the influential people are more or less familiar with each other, Annette goes to live until the start of a school year at Sebastian's aunt's country house. The guy decides to take advantage of this luck, so he goes to visit his aunt to meet Annette. However, to the very disappointment of the seducer, the acquaintance is cold, as the girl knows in detail about Sebastian's reputation, since she received a letter before that describing him in detail as the last villain. But from whom? Maybe from fellow countryman Annette, a certain Greg, whose girlfriend Sebastian had fun with last summer. Sebastian's friend, Gay, hints that girls are not too interesting for Greg. Sebastian's friend also says that this Greg promised to come to him tonight, and Sebastian decides to look at them in the evening with a camera. Greg, even under fear of exposure, still denies that it was he who sent the letter to Annette. However, so that Greg's gay orientation remains a secret, Sebastian asks for a favor in exchange. In the morning, Greg meets with Annette and convincingly describes Sebastian as a true friend and reliable guy. Greg also found out from the girl that a letter about Sebastian was sent to her by Mrs. Caldwell, Cecile's mother, which now gives Sebastian a reason to seduce her daughter, which he initially did not want to do. Meanwhile, Katherine notices that between Cecile and her black music teacher, who will give her lessons all summer, mutual sympathy has been appeared. Katherine later learns that Cecile is receiving love letters from her teacher, and Katherine offers her help in drafting a response. The next day, Katherine arranges a date for Cecile and her music teacher Ronald at her home to watch the process via video. Katherine thinks they are moving at the speed of a legless cripple. To speed up this romance, Katherine tells Mrs. Caldwell, who, to put it mildly, dislikes blacks, about the music teacher's love letters to her daughter, and the woman fires Ronald immediately. Also, she punishes Cecile. Katherine and Sebastian intercept Ronald and, under the pretext of helping, offer the guy to write Cecile another love letter. Later, Sebastian calls Cecile, saying that he has a letter, but because of her mother, he cannot deliver it, and therefore the girl will have to come to him for a letter. At home, Sebastian gets Cecile to drink a Long Island. He then blackmails Cecile that he tells her mother about her today's escape if she will not let him to make her a cunnilingus. In the morning, Sebastian visits his aunt, who invites him and Annette to go to the nursing home as volunteers. There, Sebastian pretends to have fun with one of the old ladies. But on the way back, he admits to Annette that this is not so. She is captivated by his sincerity. She convinces him that he is not such a bad person and takes his hand. Meanwhile, Cecile confesses to Katherine that her stepbrother made her cunnilingus. The fake friend tells Cecile that it's great and why shouldn't the girl use Sebastian as a sex mentor. Cecile is afraid that then she will be considered a whore, but Katherine convinces her that absolutely everyone has sex and it is okay. Cecile follows the advice this very evening. In the morning, Katherine reproaches her brother for messing with Annette for too long. Maybe has he fallen in love? Sebastian admits he has feelings, but the bet is still there. Just seducing her will take a little longer. He then goes to the garden to say hello to Annette and kisses her, far from immediately, but the girl still pushes him away because she loses control of herself next to Sebastian. In the evening, he comes to Annette to accuse her of hypocrisy, saying that she wanted love. Here it is in front of her. What else does Annette need to wait for? The argument works. Annette locks the door behind him and undresses. Sebastian, one step away from the goal, turns around and leaves, because his feelings for her do not allow him to deceive this girl. In the morning, Katherine finds her brother asleep with the diary opened on the page about Cecile. Frustrated, Annette leaves his aunt's house to live with friends. But Sebastian, having learned her route from Greg, intercepts the girl at the subway exit. Sebastian sincerely confesses his love for her, and this time everything ends with sex. When he sees Annette off in the evening, Katherine sees them out of the window with a jealous look. The next day, Sebastian hears moans and finds Ronald under the sister's bed. When the lover leaves, Katherine realizes that her brother has won the bet and has come for the reward. She starts to undress, but Sebastian says, next time. Katherine is unhappy that her stepbrother so easily refuses her in favor of Annette, so she tries to convince him that they are the two stepbrother and sister, the same breed. When she fails, Katherine resorts to blackmail, because if everyone becomes aware of this story, the reputation of not only Sebastian will go to dust, but also Annette, whose virgin manifesto did not last until the start of the school year. Realizing this, Sebastian goes to Annette to break up with her. This turns out to be not so easy, so he has to lie that he does not feel anything for the girl. He just wanted to know what Annette is like in bed. At home, Sebastian meets Katherine, agreeing that they are indeed the same breed, invites her to celebrate a successfully completed game. Unexpectedly, Katherine tells her stepbrother that he is not a player, but a toy. Their bet was just an excuse to test her influence with Sebastian. Katherine pulled various strings, seducing, humiliating, or even blackmailing Sebastian to bring him closer to Annette or away at her will. Sebastian is just a pawn in her next intrigue, like everyone around. She refuses to give him a reward, arguing that she doesn't sleep with losers. Sebastian realizes that he made a mistake by breaking up with Annette, and he tries to contact her to explain everything. When that fails, he sends Annette his diary, a chronicle of all his sexual victories. Opening the diary, on the first page, she sees Katherine, and around the photo is written as Sebastian sees her. My love, problems with cocaine, deceitful, alcohol. Meanwhile, Katherine calls Ronald and asks to come. She says that her brother hit her and ran away. Getting out of bed, Ronald leaves the sleeping Cecile and goes to Katherine, and in the morning he sets off with a determined gait in search of the offender. Having met Sebastian, who spent a sleepless night, Ronald blames in not only a false beating of Katherine, but also that Sebastian had sex with Cecile. A fight breaks out between the guys, which Annette, who has been looking for Sebastian all morning, is trying to break up. In the fight, she is pushed right onto the road. Sebastian, seeing a taxi quickly approaching her, manages to push the girl away at the last moment. A car at full speed hits Sebastian. The beginning of the school year is overshadowed by the funeral of Sebastian Belmont. The new principal of Manchester College delivers a morning speech. Meanwhile, Katherine is in the bathroom, drugged up, repeating her speech. Annette meets her there, and the girls, who have not yet met, exchange pleasantries, pretending not to know about each other. During Katherine's mournful speech, suddenly, the majority of people begin to leave, and the girl runs out into the street to understand the reason. There, Cecile hands her a printed diary of Sebastian, which describes not only his sexual victories, but reveals Sebastian's deep feelings for his stepsister. Also, the diary tells in detail about all her dark sides, unknown to the general public. After leafing through the diary, the principal easily opens the cross on Katherine's hand, from which cocaine begins to spill out. Now the girl will not only be expelled from college, but most likely criminal prosecution is inevitable. Later, Annette rides off into the sunset in Sebastian's convertible, probably bought from his family. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see recaps of other parts of Cruel Intentions.